Giants 21, Titans 20. Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we got a victory pod, a victory Monday on a week one. We haven't felt this since 2016. The Giants haven't won a week one or even a week two game since 2016. We haven't been above 500 since 2016. Sterling Shepard is the only player left on this team. And honestly, Justin, at halftime of this game, the Giants had 0 points, down 13-0. And I'm sitting there and being like, how are we going to do another year of this? Like we know it's rebuilding and stuff, but I'm like, how are we going to talk about this team for another year? Like this, it looks so bad. So credit to this Giants team, Brian Daboll, Saquon Barkley, for getting us a victory in week one against a team that was the number one team in the AFC. I know they're not the greatest team in the world, but that was a gritty, good win by the New York Giants, when at many times it felt like they were not going to win that game.
Bobby Skinner. We did it, man. We did it. We, like you said, 1-0, first time above 500 since 2016. I was there. You can clearly hear that I was there based on my voice. Fat Randy missed that field goal. Brian Daboll, big balls, man. A lot of big balls going for that 2-point conversion. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted out of this new regime, and especially we're talking about the coaching this year, right? The coaching being the difference when the talent isn't there, but the coaching being the difference maybe between sneaking out a few games that maybe you shouldn't win and then just maybe flat out losing games because you're not as talented, right? So where that comes in is Brian Daboll going for 2, Brian Daboll being aggressive, and where it also comes in is explosive plays. Doing some things despite not being perfect to just set you over the edge. That's what this game was about. And I am so excited to be here. There were a ton of Giants fans in Nashville. Let's do this.
Yeah, Brian Daboll, I made sure to tweet it beforehand because I didn't want to, because you know how those 2-point conversion calls can go. If he doesn't get it, it's a lot of like, you got to go for the tie there. And then if he goes for it, it's the best thing ever. But I said before, I was like, go for 2. You know, with the way this game flow has been, don't like, go for 2. Go for the win. Trust that your team, trust that your players can get 2 yards. And they did. And they put it in Saquon Barkley's hand, who put the team on his back in this game. Saquon put the team on his back in this game. 18 carries for 164 yards and a touchdown. That's 9.1 yards per carry. 6 catches for 30 yards. And then the 2-point conversion. Like that play, most running backs, that play's dead. That play's dead. And we're miserable right now. But Saquon Barkley broke a tackle, dove through, and won the Giants.
There were 2 guys that were in front of him too. Like Daniel Jones, pitches that ball. That's like a Kansas City style type of play, and that's what we saw. I've seen them run it. That's what we saw a lot in camp. We saw, kind of outside of the red zone and between maybe the 20 to 20, a lot of Brian Daboll's offense. But then in the red zone, it was a lot of that kind of Kansas City offense, and that 2-point conversion was a play straight out of Kansas City. Saquon Barkley gets that pitch from Daniel Jones, that underhand pitch. There are literally 2 guys that are right there. One maybe is going for a face mask grab, and he just jukes him out of his shoes and then lowers his shoulder and dives into that end zone. So, I mean, that was just absolutely fantastic. But the decision to go for it, Bobby, we'll talk more about Saquon, but there was 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Going for 2, we know it's a ballsy move. But even if you get that extra point, I feel like you don't trust your defense to get a stop and then force overtime. I mean, really, the Giants' defense didn't get a stop. I mean, Randy Bullock missed the field goal. So you don't trust your defense to get a stop and then force it to overtime, so you win the game on your terms. And that's what I absolutely love about it. And then if you were to lose the game, you lose the game on your terms as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you said, and I think the odds are better, to be honest. Like, what's the better odds? That we can get 2 yards on this play, where we're going full go, all out heart on this play. They get 2 yards, or we got to get a stop, hopefully win the coin toss in overtime, and then we got to go and score 7 points. The coin toss is such a huge element that's uncontrolled, and that as well, yeah. Yeah, so I love that move. I'm a big fan of that in general. I remember Jack Del Rio doing it with Derek Carr back in 2017 when he became the head coach there. Like, first game of the season versus the Saints, and it propelled that team. So this is a culture building win. Like you talked about it on the Friday preview pod. The only culture is winning culture. That's what builds culture. That's the only culture that matters. It's what builds culture. Winning builds culture more than anything, and they did this. more with Saquon. Again, 9.1 yards per carry. Had his first run over 50-plus yards since 2019. Had the other big run. Had that fumble. But it was so clear that Saquon's back. And, he talked a lot this summer about, he had a chip on his shoulder because last year was bad. Part of it was his doing, but a part of it wasn't. It was a horrible offensive line, and he just couldn't break tackles. He was not the same player coming off the injury. And I said on his player profile and projection that I'm tired. I'm tired of people acting as if 2021 defined Saquon Barkley more than 2018 and 19. Now, he had to come out and do it this year, but we're week 1, and he had 194 total yards in the game. And it wasn't just like he just had some big plays and it looked fluke. No, he was running hard. He was running through contact. He was hitting the hole. And what's something that won't get mentioned much? He had 6 catches for only 30 yards, so you don't think of him as being a huge impact in the receiving game. But what I noticed, what did Saquon Barkley do when he caught the ball? He lowered his shoulder and ran. On whether it was on the sideline or what, he got the yards that were there. He lowered his shoulder. He ran hard. So I give all the credit to him, man. The pressure was on him like crazy to perform this year, and he comes out and does well against a team that was really good at stopping the run last year in the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I'm even trying to do the quick math right now. I think even when you take out the 2 big plays that he had, the 68-yarder, and I think the other one was like a 33-yarder, I think he's still averaging on 16 attempts around 90-ish yards, and that's still 5.5 carries, 5.5 yards per carry, which is really, really good. So Saquon Barkley, I'm happy for him, man. And Bobby, you talked over the summer too, how there were games in 2018 and 2019 that Saquon Barkley helped win. Just flat out, Saquon Barkley wasn't just part of a win, but Saquon Barkley was one of the main reasons why the Giants won a game in 2018, 2019. Saquon Barkley today is the reason why the New York Football Giants won this game today. And that explosivity and putting your shoulder down, even when you're getting the ball on first and second down, and nothing else is working offensively, by the way. I thought the offense was pretty sloppy throughout the entire day. And that's why it's credit to also coaching where, you can rise above not everything being perfect. Not everything being perfect. This was a pretty sloppy offensive game and some sloppy defensive things too. But Saquon Barkley was the thing and the player and the element that really made this game a W for the Giants.
Well, and we have Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka as our offensive minds. They were 2 of the pass happiest offenses in the NFL last year, if not the 2 pass happiest offenses in the NFL last year. They saw what was happening, and they ran the ball. Saquon got 18 carries. Matt Breida got 5 carries, and he did good with his carries, by the way, too.
Daniel Jones got 6 carries. He was a part of the rushing offense.
Yeah, run the damn ball 2022 for New York Giants, and that's what they did. And I think they're going to continue to do it. There'll be games where they're not like that. Saquon's not going to get 194 scrimmage yards every game, but I think they have a good foundation of we can run the ball. We saw it in camp, and we're I don't know what this team's going to look like, but I do think they're going to be able to run the ball, and they did well. And that was without Shane Lemieux, who is a good run blocker, and we'll talk about the offensive line in general. But I'm just really happy for Saquon for all of the hate that he gets, for him to come out and have this game.
Yeah, and I said, I called him my Giant factor on Friday's preview pod, and I said, you're going up against Derrick Henry, man. Derrick Henry, who is seen as the best running back in the NFL, well, against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL, at least as of last year, and especially a defense that was without Kayvon Thibodeau, that's without Azeez Ojulari, that had Timon Fox starting for most of the reps and plays, and then Blake Martinez being cut last week. Derrick Henry had 21 attempts for 82 yards, and his longest run was 18 yards. And, they're really, those runs of 10-plus yards, they were non-existent for that Titan offense. They really couldn't get anything going consistently on the ground today. So Saquon Barkley went up against what the NFL views as the best running back in the NFL, and the passing game and in the receiving game.
Rushing yards.
Doubled his rushing yards, and then in the biggest moments as well, not just in the box score, but in the biggest moments as well, with the touchdown and that 2-point conversion that wins the game with an insane play. Saquon Barkley schooled him.
Let's talk about Daniel Jones. Before that, I want to encourage our listeners. Usually we ask for reviews after a win or something like that. I'm not going to ask you to do that, even though if you leave a review, I won't be mad either. This is the first time we've ever asked our listeners to do this. And we don't ask you to do much. So freaking do it, okay? or maybe the Giants will be cursed and won't win another game. Tell your friends about Talking Giants. Like, yeah, you guys know I'll have Giants friends. That is my request to all Giants fans right now. You're happy, you're enjoying a victory. Take the link to this podcast, whether you listen to it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever, and just send it to a friend and tell them to listen to the Best Damn Giants podcast. I think we're going to give you guys the best Giants analysis and fandom from all angles. You know, we'll have the film review, the O-line report this week. Our mailbag pods, I think, are our best podcast in season. The preview pods are fun. So tell people about Talking Giants. And then, you know, the off season we do. I mean, if you guys have been around with us, you know how serious and how hard we grind the off season. So that is my request. We don't ask much out of you guys. Tell a friend about the Talking Giants podcast, because I want to see us do good things. And I'm so excited that we're getting to cover a team that's 1-0 instead of 0-1.
It's the first time that we've ever covered a team that's been above 500.
Yeah, first time ever. And again, at halftime, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to, like, I'm just not ready to do this again. I was just like, I understand the rebuilding, but this just sucks. So good job. So send it to your friend right now. Don't think in your head, oh, I might send it to, you know, Jeffrey. No, stop whatever you're doing. Send it to Jeffrey right now. It takes you 10 seconds to do it. Yeah. Okay. And then send it to Jeffrey's cousin, Richard.
There's still some dark clouds that happened this game. So yeah, we talked about the hugely positive in Saquon Barkley. But let's where do you want to go to next? Because there's two major players on the offensive side of the ball that didn't have the best of games, or at least there's not good circumstances surrounding them.
Let's talk about Daniel Jones. You know, he went 17 of 21, 81% of his passes, 188 yards, 9.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. You read those stats, and you're like, that's a good Daniel Jones game. Those yards per attempt are good. That completion percentage is awesome. You read that, and that was a good game. You know, he had a 66-yard touchdown to Sterling Shepard, the game-tying one, to Chris Myrick, and you view it as a good game. But I didn't view this as a good game for Daniel Jones. It wasn't like god-awful, but he didn't look comfortable, man. And that interception was one of the, that was a very bad interception. That's they were at 3rd and 8 at at the goal line, basically 3rd and goal.
After a turnover too.
Yeah, after a lucky turnover, after Kyle Phillips muffed the punt for the Titans. And you just throw a bad duck to Saquon Barkley. Like, I understand what he was trying to go to, but if you're going to throw that back shoulder, you got to throw it quicker and harder and with better placement. And it was just a perfect storm of bad ball placement, bad timing, and just bad decision in general. And Brian Daboll lit into him pretty good on the sideline too afterwards.
Yeah. Usually don't see that.
Well, Daboll, the Cover One guys actually sent it to me, that Daboll, like a clip of Daboll doing the same thing with Josh Allen. As much as I think Daboll will give his quarterback some tough love. So I was glad to see that. Like, Daniel Jones can use some of that, because that should have lost the game. That should have been, you got a gift by that muff punt, and that should have lost them the game.
Yeah, and I also do think on that same breath, Bobby, because I don't know how often we're gonna talk about this. Like, there were certain things that the Titans did do. Like I said, the Giants' defense, and then also like the Titans' offensive play calling, like it was keeping the Giants in the game. By the fact, there was 1st and 15s, and the Titans were still running the ball. 1st and 10, 2nd and longs. They're still trying to run the ball. So there were certain things that the Titans did. I mean, that's the NFL. That's the NFL, and the Giants have certainly been the team that, because of their offensive play calling, because of their certain decisions that they've made, that they have kept teams in games that maybe they were winning or that they had a shot to win. So I'm not going to feel bad about it, but it certainly is.
I don't care they miss a field goal.
No, I don't care. But it's certainly an element of this game. But again, I'm glad that even though Daniel Jones, I thought, you said Daniel Jones, didn't have a great game. I thought I thought it was bad. I just thought it was a bad game. There was one particular play in the first half that I'm excited for you to look at, where all the guys in the press box were talking about how David Sills was wide open on the left sideline. This was during the first half. Obviously the interception as well. I thought the throw to Richie James that Richie James dropped, I thought that, hey, like, you're an NFL quarterback. I know you're kind of under pressure, but you got to put a little bit more mustard on that.
I disagree. He had a lot of pressure. It was a 3rd and 10. I got no problem with that throw. Should have been an easy catch for Richie James.
It's just a throw that I think Daniel Jones needs to make. If you want to be an NFL quarterback that possibly gets that second contract, you got to be able to put more mustard and put more arm strength on that. And then also Richie James has a ton of field to get yards after the catch if Richie James doesn't have to go to the ground to get that as well. So that's at least how I saw it. If I watch that tape, I may look at it differently too.
But there was a lot of pressure. That's a 3rd and 10 thrown off his back foot.
I just think that he needs to deliver that ball.
I thought that was one of his better throws. And the touchdown was beautiful. That was an alert call. That's a throw that, Mark Sanchez actually broke it down a little bit on the broadcast. That's not a throw that is part of the progression. That's hey, you like the look. And Josh Azudu got beat quickly. He threw off his back foot. I think it was 50 air yards. And I don't want to hear about, he underthrew. That's a tough throw. He made that throw. Gave his guy some room to adjust, and Sterling Shepard. So that was an awesome throw. So
I have a theory on that, and let me know what you think. Part of me thinks that was an option route because the corner was thinking that Shep was going to break in. He was going to break back inside. That's how he was playing it. So if the corner has outside leverage and if his hips are facing one way, then Shepard will break towards the middle of the field. And then if the corner has his hips the way that he was playing him, Shep was going to continue going deep. And that's part of my reason why it's if anybody has that was slightly underthrown, part of me thinks that was an option route. What do you think about that?
I don't know. But
yeah, that's my theory.
But regardless, it was an awesome throw. That was an awesome throw. I don't want to hear about how it was underthrown.
That was awesome.
That was 50 air yards off his back foot. Nice tight spiral, and then you let your playmaker and Shep make a play. So that was
Daniel
awesome.
Jones, 1 of 1 when he throws for 20+ air yards in 2022.
Yeah, he's the best deep ball thrower. He does throw a great deep ball. There's no denying that. But he just looked uncomfortable, in the pocket. Now the offensive line in front of him was bad, but guess what? We've seen Daniel Jones behind bad offensive lines for 3 years. Rookie year, it was he's almost too comfortable in the pocket. He does not care about pressure. He stares down the barrel and he delivers throws. The past couple of years, last year, he improved in pocket manipulation, looked comfortable with Andrew Thomas being good. He looked good. He just didn't look comfortable at all. He wasn't wanting to push the ball downfield. He wasn't manipulating the pocket well. He just didn't look comfortable in it. So again, it's a good statistical performance by Daniel Jones, but there's just too many plays where you don't feel great about it. And we'll talk about Richie James, but again, some stats don't always tell the story. I didn't come away from this game thinking Daniel Jones played good, but it's a win, so it covers blemishes obviously. But that interception should have lost the game, and we talked about having options downfield. He should have had that throw to David Sills in the first half. And again, he did not look comfortable in the pocket at all. And again, it's bad offensive line definitely has part of that. I'm not going to blame him for bad offensive line, but we've seen him behind bad offensive lines, and I hadn't seen him like that before. And he didn't look super fast or when he was moving in past years, so he didn't look great.
They're going to run him a lot. I mean, there a lot of fans were going back and forth between saying, "Oh, are they going to run Daniel Jones? Are they not going to run Daniel Jones? How many hits is he going to take?" They're not going to be afraid to do it, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they're not going to be afraid to, use Daniel Jones's legs, because when he's moving right, it's a weapon.
Yeah. So it's again, we got to win. So build on it, Daniel Jones. It's like I said, the stats are good. So if you come out and play good next week, no one's going to talk about how they're going to go look at your total stats, and week 1 is going to look like it's going to be a good statistical performance. So, but his level of play has to improve as the season goes along if he's going to get another year with the New York Giants, whether a tag, a cheap 1-year deal, or what. So he just had to play better. I do want to say, we'll talk about Josh Azudu and Ben Bredesen. The fumble, I got no problem with Daniel Jones on that. That's Josh Azudu got blown up. He's in his backswing. You can't get beat that quickly. So the fumble, I don't blame him for that. It's the fumbles where he's holding the ball. Those are the fumbles I have issues with. But in his backswing, I got no problem with that. Every quarterback fumbles that ball.
Yeah, I agree.
So he's just got to build. He's got to build on this, And you play a solid Titans defense, and there was pressure. But you're gonna their teams are gonna try and put pressure on Daniel Jones this year. Like the Titans don't blitz a ton, but they send a good amount of blitzes. And Jeff's. I mean, let's talk about the offensive line. Josh Azudu's not ready. They did a full rotation with Ben Bredesen and Josh Azudu. Like Ben Bredesen started, then Josh Azudu came in, and then Ben Bredesen came in, and then they took him out for Josh Azudu, and then I think Ben Bredesen finished the game. It's a shame Shane Lemieux's not healthy. Josh Azudu's not ready. Like he was horrible in pass protection. It was worse than anything we saw from Shane Lemieux rookie year. Like he was blown. Like plays were being blown up because of Josh Azudu, and there was plays where maybe Daniel Jones has a better outcome, but Josh Azudu blew him up. Whether it was him having to get to a check down too quickly, or it's like I get it's hard to be comfortable when Josh Azudu. He's your blind side. Andrew Thomas is your blind side, but your left guard can be your blind side too. And he was just getting blown up and was causing havoc. Like that they ran that mesh. I don't like running mesh on third down, especially when you end up facing zone. Where Daniel Jones took the sack. He probably could have got the ball at the Shepherd, but it's like Azudu got blown up. And so he's immediately getting off of his reads and trying to manipulate the pocket. So Josh Azudu is just not ready. Like he was a huge issue with pass protection. I don't think Ben Bredesen was great either, but he was better than Josh Azudu.
Yeah, I mean, especially going up against Jeffrey Simmons too, where he's an animal, man. he is so good.
That was bad.
No, it was really bad. And I said again on the Friday preview pod that I think Ben Bredesen's worst and a Ben Bredesen disaster game is a lot better than a Josh Azudu disaster game. And whenever Josh Azudu was in, it was disastrous. And I think Daniel Jones, 8 QB hits he took and then 5 sacks. So I'd be interested to see, Bobby, when you break down the O-line film, how many QB hits are we going to allocate to Josh Azudu? How many sacks are we going to allocate to him and stuff like that?
Yeah, Simmons had 2 sacks. My boy Rashad Weaver had 2 sacks. That was not nice because he's playing the Giants, but that was like, hey, I liked him.
Cool moment. Bobby Skinner.
I want to talk about Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, but first, why don't you read an ad? And we're going to start a campaign for Andrew Thomas, but how about you read an ad?
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. This year, you got to prioritize your mental health. Listen, it's important. The Giants didn't start 0-1, so that's a really, really good thing. But they started 1-0. That this part of your life is kind of taken care of for this week and taken care of right now. The Giants are relevant, above 500 for the first time since 2016. In the month of September, it's really awesome. But I want you to prioritize your mental health as well. More athletes, they're speaking out about the importance of mental health, but you don't have to be a pro to be at the top of your game. Therapy is the best way to stay in peak mental shape. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp, new sponsor, is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. Get matched with the therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapists anytime. I kind of like that. If you're not fully comfortable with somebody, if you're not vibing with somebody, if you want a kind of a different voice, different opinion, you can switch therapists anytime. When you're ready to feel at the top of your mental health game, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/TalkinGiants today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/TalkinGiants.
Appreciate you, my people. All right. Giants fans. Andrew Thomas is awesome. And we got to start clamoring for him to get more respect around the NFL. He was just dominant all game long, against Bud Dupree or whoever. And Bud Dupree, I saw Seth Walder post about he was had a better get off than he did before the ACL injury. He is amazing, and we need to start clamoring and get his name around the league. That it's time to respect Andrew Thomas. He needs to be a Pro Bowler this year. He needs to get all Pro votes. Andrew Thomas is a real deal. He was dominant, and he looked better in the run game. And I'm very excited to watch this film. We've got one. I don't want to get used to Andrew Thomas being great. You know what I mean? At this point, it's something we expect, but I don't think we should just be like, oh, well, Andrew Thomas was great. Let's move on. I think we need to continue to talk about we got a real deal, awesome left tackle in Andrew Thomas.
Seeing the C on his shirt was very, very cool. It looked right. It's like that was like the first thing that I saw as the team ran out of the tunnel. My Andrew Thomas with that C on his shirt just looked right, just looked good. He was like one of the only offensive linemen. I didn't notice him today. Like I just didn't notice. Like Evan Neal got beat inside. I saw Mark Lewinsky blocking down the field and pushing some guys down the field. Obviously, Azudu had his struggles. I think Feliciano maybe struggled helping out Azudu a little bit. Andrew Thomas was like the one offensive lineman who I didn't see him at all during the game. And I think that's always a good thing when you don't hear an offensive lineman's number called, or if he's not allowing a sack, anything like that. So Andrew Thomas is taking care of business. Excited to see you break him down and how he won and how he had a good game.
Evan Neal wasn't perfect. Like he did have some struggles, but I thought for game one, I thought he looked solid. Obviously you got to go and watch the All-22 film on him, but he looked solid. He gave up one pressure during the game, with the interior struggle. Feliciano struggled. Glowinski had bad reps. Azudu was like horrible. I thought Evan Neal held his own pretty well. Like he's got to improve. There was some bad reps that I saw a few times where Jones was escaping and Evan Neal got beat inside. But Evan Neal I thought looked solid, so I'm very excited. Like the O-line report this week will start with an Evan Neal segment. We gotta talk about our 7th overall pick in Evan Neal.
Got it.
Receiving game.
I'm surprised we didn't get to him yet.
Kadarius Toney?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the thing that we talked about after Daniel Jones.
We've got to... I think he played less than 10 snaps.
Yes.
That's insane. That can't happen.
They would run the ball and then take him out. Yes.
That can't happen. And we saw what happens when the ball's in his hands. He takes a speed sweep and turns it to 20 yards. He takes a design, a pass by him. It's dead. And instead of being a 6-yard loss, he turns it into a 4-yard gain.
Yeah.
He is too good to not have on the field.
2 rushes, 23 yards.
Yeah. He is way too good to not have on the field. And I get there may be some things that we don't know behind closed doors, but he is too good to just not play. To give that amount of playing time. I know, like at some point you got to coach up these guys to fit. This roster is not good enough. Toney could have been used a lot in the receiving game, and they just didn't use him as a receiver today. They did not, like he was not a part of the receiving game. There was like one time where Jones checked. There was actually the throw where Jones should have hit Sills that he could have hit Toney.
How many yards was the Shep touchdown?
Huh?
How many yards was the Shep touchdown?
66 yards.
You mentioned that Daniel Jones had a good statistical day. So 188 minus 66, 122 divided by how many attempts is that? So that's 20, not
20.
Counting that. That's 6.1 yards per attempt, not counting the big explosive play, which of course the big explosive play counts, but if nothing is working...
I don't like taking that away and
but hear me out. If nothing is working, throwing deep down the field because your offensive line just doesn't have time, isn't that exactly why Kadarius Toney's on the team? So you can target him in the intermediate part of the field. And I don't even understand, even if you're what are you trying to stick it to him because he doesn't, he's not, we know that there's questions on if he's committed to football. We know that. I mean, these are things that we have been talking about for an entire season now throughout his rookie year, right? Those were things that we were talking about last summer, when he's not practicing this and that, blah, blah, blah. So I don't, if you're trying to stick it to him, prove a point,
that's not going to you can't do, you got to, not everyone's going to be a cookie cutter teammate.
No.
Okay, and doing that to Toney is
not going
to get the best out of him.
You're not hurting Kadarius Toney. You're hurting yourself.
Yes, Toney has to be on the field. I'm not sitting here saying he needs to play 90% of the reps, but essentially, after Saquon, he's your best talent on best skill player on the team.
Yeah,
he is way too good and way too talented to just do that to. Okay, and I'm telling you, doing that to him does not help. License Plate Guy posted, the video of him on the sideline where he's frustrated.
Not happy. Yeah, I saw it.
I don't blame him for being frustrated. He knows what type of player he is. And again, he needs to take responsibility of some of the issues that are happening behind closed doors too. But he's too good to not make this work. He's just too good to not make this work. Okay? You got to coach this guy up and figure out a way in a very solid role. It was an injury, by the way. In the regular season, if a guy has any injury, you have to put it on the injury report. Even if they're full participants in practice, you have to put it on the injury report. Brian Daboll said he wasn't banged up at all either, but obviously coaches lie in press conferences. I think Daboll lied about There was something he said in the press conference like that wasn't true. Again, coaches lie in press conferences, nothing new. But you just Tony's. I've said it 20.
You're hurting yourself again. The Giants are hurting themselves the most out of any party in this situation, and an offense today that did not look good through the air. Did not look good. Like I'm gonna nitpick again. Like Daniel Jones having a good statistical day. I really don't think it was that great of a statistical day because the passing offense. Like the rushing offense was more efficient than the passing offense today. The rushing offense was more efficient than the passing offense. That doesn't happen in the NFL. That's not supposed to happen in the NFL. So, yeah, man. Kadarius Toney would have helped today. And you know what's funny? Anytime that he was on the field and he did get the ball in his hands, Kadarius Toney did help the Giants. And
on design plays where it's like, here's the ball. Now everyone attack Kadarius Toney.
Yes.
Not on running. Like Kadarius Toney can run a slant. He can run a car. Like you can, again. He may not have the full grasp of everything you're trying to do, but he's just way too talented to not have out there.
Yeah.
So they've got to figure that out, and they got to figure it out fast because you're going to ruin this relation. You're going to ruin this asset in Kadarius Toney if you continue to do to this. Like just not playing him. It's not going to help. No. Like I understand. I wish Kadarius Toney was.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah. Cookie. Like I wish every player on the team was, but not all of them are. So, and again, there's things behind closed doors that Toney deserves blame on, I would assume. But you've got to play this guy. He's too good to not play.
Did David Sills get a target today?
No. Should have got one, but he didn't get one.
I would be shocked if David Sills didn't lead the team in wide receiver snaps today. He was on the field for almost every single snap.
Yeah, wild.
You could be the biggest David Sills fan. But, I mean, to say that David Sills should be getting more snaps than Kadarius Toney, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, at least Galladay got 2 catches for, 20-something yards and had a third down conversion. David Sills, and even the big play that David Sills should have had, it was just a blown coverage. Yeah. It's not David Sills being good at wide receiver.
But instead of just criticizing the Giants, because like you said, there is something behind the scenes. This is 2 coaching staffs now. One coaching staff you can question, you can criticize, and be like, hey, what is going on? We got to get this guy out on the field. We got to see what he's about. This is the second coaching staff now that they're doing the same exact thing. Literally, the first couple weeks of the season until the Giants had to play Kadarius Toney last year when Galladay went down, when Shep went down, when Slate, like they all went down in the same game last year. That was like that Falcons game, right? Then they played Kadarius Toney, and he did good things, amazing. But this is the second coaching staff in a row that is putting him out there for a play, taking him out, and then only giving him manufactured stuff. This is the second year in a row with the second different coaching staff.
But that also makes the same point, is that, guess what? He's not going to be perfect, but when you do play him, he's going to make plays.
Yeah.
Every game he played in last year, where he was part of the game plan, he made plays. Led the team in receptions in almost every game that he actually was part of the game plan. And it wasn't just the Dallas game. Play him. He's too good to not play. Yep. Other thing, people are going to say Richie James had a good game, 5 catches, 59 yards. I want to pull back on that a little bit. 3 of the catches for 48 yards were on 3rd and 20s that didn't convert.
Helps field position.
And then one was Again, I'm not mad at him for making those catches, but I where the stats can lie. We talk about Daniel Jones, and then one was the halftime, and that drop, that's game changing. Obviously they got the ball back on the muff punt, but that's a game changing drop. You can't happen that, and that was one of Daniel Jones' better throws of the day, and he dropped it. You can't have that.
I close my eyes whenever I get stressed that Kadarius Toney's not on the field. I close my eyes and I just think that it's Richie James.
Credit to Sterling Shepard. Guy tore his Achilles 8 months ago and has a 66-yard touchdown. That might end up being Shepard. Was the touchdown versus the Colts in 2019?
Look it up on Pro Football Reference. But that really did come out of nowhere. We're young Shep talking about him being a low average depth of target, high catch rate king. I mean, that's what he does. And him and Daniel Jones have this insane relationship as a chain mover on 3rd downs. And then lo and behold, boom, he catches that streak down the field for an explosive play. That like I said, my theory is that it's an option route, but don't listen to me because I could be dumb. Do you have an answer on that? If that's the longest catch of his career?
I didn't look it up. The only one I could think of would be 2018. He might have had some other ones. But anyways, let's talk about Chris Myrick, though. The GOAT. Guy has 4 career catches, 2 are touchdowns. Game winner versus the Eagles, essentially. Game winner today before the 2-point conversion. Chris Myrick's just the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. The guy, all he does is catch touchdown passes.
Yes. Yes. It's funny how Chris Myrick had like a hero moment. You know, like the guy that's listed as a fullback on the roster catching the 1-yard touchdown pass has like a hero moment, and it's going to become like a trivia question that like Wes is going to ask like 5 years from now. Who was the guy that caught the touchdown pass in
Brian Daboll's first game? In
Brian Daboll's first game before the 2-point conversion, and it's going to be like Daniel Bellinger, Chris Myrick, Evan Ingram, who caught it, and people are like, really, Chris Myrick caught it? Saquon Barkley ruined his moment.
Yeah, so bad guy Saquon. All right, let's talk about the defense. Before that, the NFL's opening week was action-packed, people, and it's just getting started. By the way, check out mine and Danny's picks on the spread picks. Like we both went 6-2. Danny was amazing last year. I was good last year. Get ready for week 2 of touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week, new customers can bet just $5 in any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly. Want more action? Everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. It's simple. This Sunday, bet on any NFL team to win. If your team leads by 10 at any point during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. So if you bet on the Titans today, well, you would have won. Even though they're massive losers, you would have won. Again, the Titans are massive losers, but you would have won. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code JOHNBOY only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right. I want to give Wink Martindale credit. He did not have help from his players in this game. But I think he did a good job. Like he has a scheme that stops the run and funnel things towards the inside. Henry, you held Derrick Henry to 3.9 yards per carry, and they gave him volume to try and get it, and they could just never get it going. And that was with bad personnel, like bad edge defenders in the run game. Jihad Ward's a solid edge defender, but not like an advantage. Like he can hold his own. Austin Calitro and Tay Crowder, Tay Crowder was able to come up and make some plays in the run game. Calitro didn't look very good. And Leonard Williams did his job in the run game. I thought there was something there to be desired as far as him as a pass rusher.
Yeah, but QB hits.
Good job. Like know your opponent. Now I'm not saying this Wink Martindale defense is going to come out and impress us every single week, because we're not going to face a wide receiver core of Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook, and Treylon Burks every single week. But know your opponent. They stopped the run, and they were able to not let Ryan Tannehill get in too much of a rhythm. They were able to get some chunk plays in the passing game, but Ryan Tannehill was never to got into a great rhythm. No,
and I think Tennessee, hey, if I'm talking Titans, I'm maybe talking about how Tennessee shot themselves in the foot a couple times with a lot of different things. But guess what? Like I said, the Giants have shot themselves in the foot plenty of times, especially offensively, timeouts, things like that. So I think Tennessee definitely did that, and that was the difference in this game as well. I'm giving out a game ball, and I want to share it, a defensive game ball. Jihad Ward and O'Shane Ximines, I thought, played the run kind of well, especially Jihad Ward.
They funneled everything towards it. Yeah, Jihad Ward had some plays in the run game. I gotta watch O'Shane. I focused in on O'Shane a couple times, and he was getting blocked by tight ends. He did have a QB hit though, so good for O'Shane.
He had 2 QB hits this game.
Oh, word. But that's the thing though, is Wink was blitzing, and they still couldn't get pressure. They had
especially
no
that
sacks.
last drive. Yeah.
They give the last drive they got some pressure, but they gave Timon Fox a sack.
Yeah.
In the stat sheet, but that wasn't a sack.
Congratulations, Timon Fox.
Ryan Tannehill scrambled and got tackled at the line of scrimmage.
Take that, Quincy Roche.
They got no sacks.
No.
Like they just couldn't, like they were blitzing, and it was more intense than Patrick Graham last beginning of the season, but Patrick Graham tried to blitz and play man coverage against the Broncos. They were blitzing and still couldn't get pressure, and that's where I will say I was disappointed in Larry Williams. I wanted him to dominate as a pass rusher, and their reps were not there.
The difference between that Broncos game last year is I eventually think that Pat Shurmur was just like, screw this, I'm just going to throw the ball every play. Teddy Bridgewater's just going to roll out, play action. These linebackers are going to bite for it, and the big plays were there. Whereas the Titans, they did not do that. They were trying to get Derrick Henry going. They were trying, they were winning the game. I mean, they were winning the game. What were we, down by 13? To start the second half. So
the Titans are going to do what the Titans, like they aren't the Titans by not doing what they stick to what they do. But
I think that's exactly what Wink does, and what those Baltimore defenses have always done is they've stopped the run, and they did it today. And good for the Giants, good for Jahad Ward, good for O'Shane Ximines setting a good edge, good for Tay Crowder blowing up Derrick Henry on a play that was really, really fun. Didn't even tackle him, kind of just gave him some forearms, and Derrick Henry goes flying to the ground. So those guys were looking pretty good. So what we said that they had to come in and do, which is stop the run, stop Derrick Henry, they did that.
Yeah, we like the Titans' offense goes as Derrick Henry goes, and Derrick Henry did not go in this game. They got helped on a couple holding penalties too, but again, you force teams into mistakes. I also thought Wink Martindale. What I was most impressed with. I'm excited to watch the all 22 of it. I will say it's harder to tell what this coaching staff is doing, on broadcast version versus the last coaching staff, because like. The Jason Garrett offense is like everything stayed on the screen with their route combos. With Mike Kafka's not, and then Wink Martindale just throws a lot of different looks. But that's what he did. Like he threw a lot of different looks and didn't let Ryan Tannehill get comfortable. Again, they gave up some chunk plays. Treylon Burks had some chunk plays. Even Kyle Phillips had some, but they did like the Tannehill was never able to just get in a rhythm. Like they threw different looks at him all day, and Tannehill was missing throws. He was slow, was processing slow and getting the ball out late and allowing guys to adjust. I'm interested to go and really dive into like how did they help Aaron Robinson, because it seemed like McKinney was helping a lot on his side. So again, like Wink Martindale, I thought just had a solid game plan. The one thing that worries me though is something we talked about when Darnay Holmes was having a turnover every day in training camp.
Yep.
It's like don't get too lost in these training camp storylines, because Darnay struggles in man coverage. Patrick Graham never put him in those situations last year, and good on Patrick Graham for that. But he had 2 defensive holding calls on third downs, and they weren't even like ticky-tack. Like, they were egregious holding calls where it's like, Darnay, what are you doing here, man? Like, you're literally just wrapping your hand or your arm around his neck and just totally rerouting with him like that. And then what could have been the game-losing play, that corner route to Kyle Phillips. Again, both UCLA guys, by the way, Kyle Phillips versus Darnay Holmes. But I understand you're not the best man corner in the world, Darnay, but that guy's a 5th, 6th round rookie out of UCLA.
Yeah,
you gotta make a play there, Darnay. So he struggles in man. I think that'll be an issue. But we did see part of it was like that last drive. Wink Martindale was just like, I'm bringing the pressure.
Yeah, like a sack. A sack wins the game. I mean, I was just thinking, somebody get home, because if you get a sack, it just wins you the game. I think Tennessee had 1 timeout left at that point. They burned that final timeout, then they're really playing on their heels. So Darnay, there were 2 plays this game. Let me ask you this: that the Kyle Phillips catch that he allowed at the end. Do you think if he tries to play the ball, turn around, make some sort of attempt to tip the ball, that he tips it and it's pass deflection, or is that just an awesome route, awesome throw? He can't defend that.
You can defend it, but like at the point of the throw of the catch, I don't think. Ideally you can do something, but that's just not real life. This isn't like Grant Haley not turning his head type thing. It was just like it's not mattering where you get. There was one third down.
There was one third down catch that he allowed that he's like right there, but he just doesn't turn his head and doesn't see the ball coming. So, he could have almost picked it if he turned his head and saw that there was a ball coming and whatever. So,
he just struggles in man.
Struggles in man, which we know.
But that last drive of the game, Wink wasn't even hiding it. He's like, we're running cover 0. Because like you said, a sack ends that game, and sacks end drives too. And you could tell Wink was just like it. But even then, they got pressure on that drive, but it wasn't like you think cover zero pressure. You think of like you got to get the ball out super.
There was no
quick.
pressure that altered throws. Maybe there was one or two because there was a tip. I think O'Shane Zimenez had a pass deflection on that drive.
Yeah.
There were no really throws that where it's like, wow, that was a bad throw because of the pressure that was on Ryan Tannehill. He was still able to deliver stuff pretty safe. And I honestly think like if the Titans commit to throwing the ball a little bit earlier and in not allowing the Giants to really get back into that game, and they really want to put the Giants to bed, I think that they could have done it. So that's also one of those things where, you know, we're projecting the Giants defense going forward. You know, there may be some coaches who maybe aren't so stubborn in their ways to just run the ball, even though because they want to. If they want to commit to the pass against this Giants defense, you kind of can do it.
Next week, I think it's still a good matchup for the Giants. The wide receivers are much better in Carolina, but I do think next week should be a good matchup for and worse O-line play. Yeah, Ben McAdoo, Akim Ekwonu really struggled.
Hopefully Aziz and Kayvon are maybe back.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on it. Let's talk about the last thing on defense. Austin Calitro was really bad in coverage. Gave up a touchdown to Dontrell Hilliard. Tay Crowder gave up a touchdown too, but it wasn't as bad. Like it was kind of a pick play, but he still could have done a better job on it. But Austin Calitro, I mean, it was that first touchdown of the game. Like he just was in man coverage and just got flat out beat. Like that was ugly, you know. So we talked about it. They didn't cut Blake Martinez because he's not great in coverage. Because Blake Martinez is much better in coverage than Austin Calitro is, and they didn't do it to play the kids because Austin Calitro is the same age as Blake Martinez and has been bouncing around the league for 5 years. Again, I don't want to. This isn't, but basically what I'm saying is Calitro's not great. Like he struggles in coverage, and it really showed.
Yeah, you said it on the Blake Martinez's cut show. Giants have made their bed. They're laying it. They're laying in it.
Any other notes on the defense? Again, I wanted to see more out of Leonard today in the pass rush department. I was a little disappointed in him. Adoree Jackson looked great. Like he's didn't face a great wide. They called him for that defensive pass interference. He did get one other catch to Robert Woods, but Robert Woods had one catch in the entire game. Like Adoree Jackson stepped up to the plate as cornerback one. Now it was against a weak wide receiver core, but nonetheless he did step up to the plate today, and looked really impressive. And again, Aaron Robinson, I want to watch the film to see how it went, but Aaron Robinson wasn't picked on today.
No.
That's a huge W that Aaron Robinson was not picked on. You know, so there's less film of, you know, the Panthers don't have film of like we can just pick on this guy. So that was very encouraging. Like that Aaron Robinson, I think they helped him in some of the coverages and stuff, but good job by Aaron Robinson and doing his job.
All right, Bobby Skinner. I guess we'll wrap up. We'll kind of take a breath, maybe reflect on how nuts everything
victory, baby,
and how nuts everything kind of went and how we're feeling, where we're at, because we did a lot of analysis. So, Giants are 1-0. Come out to MetLife Stadium next Sunday, please. It'll be the home opener. The Giants are above 500 for the first time since 2016, and it feels so good to say it. I don't care how many times I'm going to say it this episode. And what I want you to do, either before the game, if you are a pregame meal type of person, or after the game, if you want to emotionally eat after a loss, or if you want to emotionally eat in a good way, I want you to go to the Candlewick Diner, the best freaking diner in the state of New Jersey. I'll tell you what, too. New regime, a lot of new players, but at least in the old regime, ton of Giants players went to the Candlewick Diner. Jabril Peppers was a frequent attendee. I stalked Raymond Johnson as he was leaving a bathroom last year at the Candlewick Diner, so I'm excited to see what kind of maybe new players are going to be showing up. Maybe they have a little bit of the ganja at night, so then they get a little food to go, and then they bring it home. I think that happens sometimes too. Candlewick Diner, they're celebrating their 53rd year in East Rutherford this October. It's located just a mile up the road from MetLife Stadium, so it's super close whether you want a pregame meal or a postgame meal. Perfect spot for a pregame breakfast or post-game dinner drinks. Full-service bar, in-house bakery, and free delivery. Extensive menu from breakfast to burgers to steaks and pasta. What I want you to do is check out the Candlewick Diner in East Rutherford, New Jersey for all your diner favorites.
Really do appreciate Candlewick Diner. They're the best.
Yes.
All right, how was the atmosphere in Nashville?
Dude, there were times where it felt like a Giants home game. I can't tell you the split because there were Titans fans there, and the stadium was filled with a lot of Titans fans, but the stadium was also packed with Giants fans. Broadway was just packed with Giants fans. Or Broadway is like the main street of Nashville. I took a video of the bridge. There's like a bridge that you can walk back to the city of Nashville from the stadium. So I took that video looking back at how many people were walking back. Everybody's a Giants fan. Everybody's a Giants fan. People are high-fiving each other. I mean, it was just an awesome, awesome atmosphere. Even like from Thursday, the day that I got in Nashville, to Sunday, you know, when we're recording, when we're chatting about this, atmosphere is just so awesome. We're ready to win more. So a lot of listeners too. It was very cool.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. People just like on Broadway being like, "Hey, Justin." I'm like, "Oh, cool. All right." In a bar. I'm like in a bar. Like, "Are you Justin?" "Yeah, I'm Justin." "All right, cool."
Yeah, it was an exciting. I posted a video of Dad of the Year where this kid was like just heckling. It's like he must have been a stepdad because he's just like heckling the crap out of these kids.
And speaking of atmosphere, the locker room shit was just so cool.
Yeah, Daboll, you know, whatever song it was Daboll just going off. So Daboll's
for the culture.
Brian Daboll's got the energy going right now. That's some people in the chat are saying BDE, Brian Daboll Energy, is what that stands for. By the way, we got to give a W. People were coming at Danny King's neck, being like, "It's going to rain. It's going to rain." It didn't rain at all during the game. So Danny King is the greatest meteorologist of all time.
He was even getting hate like before the game because it was like storming for 10 minutes and then it stopped and storming for 10 minutes. I got a tweet
from some guys like, "Didn't you have somebody on your show saying it's not going to rain?" And I was like, I didn't want to explain.
Rain, and I think Danny did say it may rain in the morning, but it will not rain during the game. And it did not rain one single drop. And that deserves huge props to Danny King.
So that was a fun game, man. Being 1-0 feels awesome. It just makes being a football fan so much more enjoyable. So I'm excited for that stuff we have on the schedule for this week. The O-line report and film review will be out. Justin will do a stat report. Mailbag on Wednesday. If you want to get a mailbag question in, we'll put out a tweet on Tuesday morning from the Talking Giants account asking for your questions. I really do think that's the best podcast we do every week is the mailbag because it gives us 2 days to watch film, look at numbers, and really dive deep on the topics we want to hit on. And then obviously the Friday pod. So it was Mr. Brownstone said it. Let's win some games. He's like, I don't care. I want to win some games, and we won.
And what's awesome about this, Bobby? We're looking forward to next week too, right?
Yeah. Like, oh my god, dude! I just thought, like, what if we are 2-0? What if we're 2-0? That's freaking insane. Oh my god! Now I'm way too excited, and that's something to give credit to this team, the coaches, the players. Mm-hmm. We've been Giants fans, went through some bad times the last 5 years. At every moment of the game, it's like, you know, we're going to lose.
Yep.
This is where we
been
lost.
Here before.
You know, even when they score, you get the 2-point conversion, it's like, we're going to lose. So good credit to the Giants for pulling one out. So we'll be back for a pod on Wednesday. We really do appreciate you guys. Again, tell your friends about the pod. Like, that's my request. Do it. I don't care what you have to do. If you have to, like, grab their phone, assault them. Like, grab their phone and subscribe to the podcast. Like, we want to make the Talking Giants family bigger. So we appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Wednesday for a mailbag pod. The Giants, enjoy Victory Monday. Enjoy being undefeated. Enjoy being a winner. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.